Hello, my name is Victor, and I'm going to present my final phase of the key activity, that it's my personal philosophy, and I named it Trying to Do Things Simple Philosophy, because that's mostly how I like to do my life. The first topic that I'm going to talk about is metaphysics, and metaphysics is defined as the part of philosophy that is about understanding existence and knowledge, change, transformation. That's how the world and the universe works. And this interpretation comes from seeing the history of humanity and its knowledge. We have been thinking infinite numbers of things that there are not really like that. And with that, we try to give a plausible or a conclusion that it can be seen or explained by a large process of logical things. This led into numbers, because the reality is that numbers don't exist. They are not real. But even when they don't exist, they change the way that we see and interact with the part of the universe we can relate to, which is in this time of humanity only the planet Earth, or so we know, and the one we belong to, or so we think. There are millions of examples of why the numbers have changed our lives, and they tend to go to the same place. And the things that affect the most in the universe are things that do not exist or cannot be checked or can have a comparison like that can't be irrefutable. And that it's our perception of time. Time for everyone is different, and that is why time is relative. The reason why we have seconds is because the Earth in itself, because there we have 12 hours because of the reason of that is that our planet goes a rotation in its own axis at 24 hours, or well, like 24 hours and 6 minutes, and that's why there are longer years than others. But that's not the case in this video. The thing is that we have only 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness, and that's because of the rotation of our planet around the sun. And because of that, we created time. We divided all this time in 24 cycles or things, and then we divided these cycles in something else that was minutes and then seconds and then milliseconds and all the one that continues with that chain. But this is not the only example of this, because we have words, because words don't really mean anything. It's only the interpretation that we have about the universe, about everything, about nothing. But we cannot comprehend this in a complete form, because if you were someone that does not have a language, you can't completely learn everything that you can when you have these words that they are nothing, but they give a meaning for us. Words have changed our history ever since they were invented. And my favorite examples of this is the design of the spatial rocket that can go faster than light, but this is only possible nowadays in calculus and in a big and complex succession of variables that was made by Miguel Alcubierre, a professor of quantum physics from the UNAM. This is some and the incomplete change in the particle physics that is happening right now. But I do not have the capacity of saying what it is happening, because as a really wise man once said, if you cannot explain something to a 9-year-old, you do not understand it enough. And that is the position where I am. And for more philosophical questions such as does God exist? Well, my short answer is that it doesn't matter, because as I already said, we are not really made to know. We have been made or evolved for surviving. And the reason for the existence of God not being important is that we cannot achieve nothing even if we knew whether if it exists or not. It will change nothing in humanity. And the cause of this is the free will. There will be no change in the behavior of some people, but at the end, there will be change in the behavior of some people, but in the end of the day, this will not change nothing in the humanity progress in our path through history. Then I have a really, really serious thing with ethics. But before we get to that, we have to define what is ethics. And ethics is a system of accepted beliefs that control behavior, and especially such a system based on morals. And how I see our world is that relativity is the key of understanding the humanity, and ethics have come from this. Because in the start of humanity, the ethical way of behaving was the one that made us survive through time. This has always been a problem in humanity when the main or most basic necessities were solved. We needed a law, something for us to follow, for us making us feel good. And this is where the power of the church and religions in general came from, most likely. But we're now that time where they killed everyone if they don't believe in his God was ethical, and it got into the laws that the religions and the state should be separate, as it did Benito Juarez in Mexico. And at the end of the time, he did really, really bad things for ethical morals of now. But at that time, it was okay, because that was the morals that were in that time. Because Benito Juarez was not really a really good man. He was really good for the country in general, but he killed a lot of people because they were traitors, and they could be traitors because they had a book in another language, like in French. But another example that was that he didn't use the national hymn, and he used the Marseillaise instead of it in every national event. And in this situation, we see that ethics and morals change through time. So my ethic way of thinking is the following. My own values and responsibilities are the ones that I follow, and I let the others do whatever they want, but reminding them if they are not following their own moral line, which normally has led me into troubles in a group of friends or with people I talk with normally, but with everyone that goes without or goes against his morals. With this, I stopped feeling things such as pain for someone that it's not me, or have, or that is super important for me. And there are a lot of things that, in my ethic view, way of seeing the world, are correct, and it will make a better world, or so I think. Because my aspirations in this life are three: being a dictator, a monk, or a particle physicist. And I have a really radical way of seeing the world. And a perfect example of this was that I had a conversation with someone that I don't really remember who it is, but I think that was one uncle or something like that. The important thing is the message. I said, well, it would be better that we killed everyone that was infected with the virus when it all started. And then they explained to me or told me that this would not really have to be the case because we could not have developed or the technology that we have nowadays in the vaccines if we didn't have this problem. And that was really something that got me into think about my morals and my ethic view of this life. And about truth. This is something that is essential in my life because the thing that I try the most is to always tell the truth. And this can be explained by epistemology, but the exact definition of this is the part of philosophy that is about the study of how we know things. And there are many truths. There are things that are true because an example of something that I really like but is intangible is that one can be equal to zero in some cases, or one can be equal to in some kind of operations, because that's how it has to be. But one is one, that's all. But when it has to be something else, it is something else. There are a lot of situations when you can have truth or not. Another example is an anecdote that I have, and it's the explanation of the colors. Because the physical way of seeing things, the color white is not really a color, but it is the mix of all the colors. But in art or in something tangible, in painting, if you mix all the colors, you will get black. And that is not really a color that you can see in a physical way, because black, it's nothing. It's not color. It's no light. That's all. And truth cannot be absolute, because white and black are opposites. One reflects the heat and the light, and one absorbs it. And we have many truths, because if any person or every person is a world, this leads into a situation where we will learn in different ways. And some people only learn through experience. Some go with knowledge that come from the history past knowledge, the scientific knowledge, a scientific way of learning things. And mine comes from mixing all of the philosophical paths, except for the one that says that we have all the knowledge in our heads and that we don't really discover things. That is that we remember things. But that's not what I really think. And about the non-Western epistemology, it is something that I do not apply in my life because it is not really important for me. I tend to live doing what I want to and not think or do something else for the benefit of someone that it's not me. Because I have had a lot of problems in which I have not gotten enough importance for myself, and that led into that I don't care about that kind of things. But for me, there are things that I like, but they are not really important. And this one is aesthetics, which is defined as the formal study of art, especially in relation to the idea of beauty. And I do not have a really specific way of looking things nor understanding the art. I mostly have some rare pleasures on things or things that are not common and that does not interfere in the way I live because I like those things and I don't need approbation or a good sign from everyone to continue with my life. So I found beautiful things as a valley, a river, some paintings, but some really specific paintings because I don't like every piece of art, a tree, drawings, and mostly the Japanese ones because I find them really cute. I love writing. I love how we see the writing, but I don't really like to read or checking the things that I have done with a lot of effort because I simply think that this goes in another path of thinking that is not art. One about what I find ugly, the things that I find the ugliest isn't even something that you can see. It's something that you can feel, and it's the attitudes and actions or reaction of some person and how the humanity in this time of history is acting. That is what I find only being fake and a hypocrite. Philosophy. This is something with I had a really hard problem with, and I do not really like to learn about history or something that is not me or is the opposite of my ideas. But something that a lot of people tell me when they hear me talking is that I'm super philosophical and they have a lot of thoughts that may not be as simple as I think they are. My philosophy wants to be pretty simple, but it seems like it's not. I want to be a simple person without many worries, and only for having a pacific life, in which I can achieve my dreams of being a physicist. But I will never say that philosophy is not important, nor learning from the past. Even when I don't like it, thinking this is one of the activities that I enjoy the most. And this can be achieved from seeing the past. Because when seeing the past, we can see our future. And that is something that I have learned. But for the end, what I think about philosophy is that I hope that there are more philosophers to hear about and have a reflection from its word. Its its words. But that is not my path in this world. I want to have raw knowledge and apply it to the life because that is what pleasures me. That is all. And in a slide or in the following seconds, I will put references that I used for making this video, which come from my past key activities in classes and some definitions. Well, thank you, and I hope that life can join us in another time. Bye.